Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Miles Trial. Today is day 27th of the MILESGUO trial. Just to refresh everybody's memory, MILESGUO is currently facing trial in the Southern District Court of New York. He is facing 12 financial counts and also 1 count of RICO, and he has never pled guilty to any of these charges. And today we are continuing with Miles's witnesses, so this is very exciting to say the least. And from what I know, today is actually a little bit different from what we have been hearing about on the show. Just because this is the defense's side of the testimony. So the story and the picture they're trying to paint and the arguments they're trying to put out there are very different from those of the government. So today, I believe a majority of the testimonies will revolve around the topic of the CCP. So this is going to be quite an amazing episode for you guys. And this is already day 27, so you guys have stayed with this show for quite a long time. And right now, we are truly at the essence of the arguments from the defensive side, from Miles' side. So with that being said, let us bring on our guests for today, Jackson and Feather. And I know, Jackson, you have been away for some time, and it is great to have you back.
Hey, happy to be back in action, glad to be back, and can't wait for this episode.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't asked this question for a while now, but how is Miles? I mean, especially for Jackson. How big was the difference from since the last time you saw Miles?
Yes, so Mr. Miles got a new haircut, at least from when I was gone. He got a new haircut, looking spiffy, looking great. I mean, suit is always on point. The suit's always on point. Mr. MILESGUO always has this swagger about him when he walks and everything. So that's the first thing definitely I noticed is the new haircut from Mr. Miles. He's in great spirits. He sees everybody. He stands there and he greets everybody and stuff like that. So Mr. MILESGUO is in great spirits and
Right, it feels like, as Jackson mentioned, how he greets everyone, how he looks at everyone in the eye one by one, no matter how many there were in the room. He takes time to look at us, to greet with his eyes, and with a nod in the head. And it's like kind of a little routine, because I've been there almost every single day to the court. So it's like a routine, so I was expecting to make eye contact with him and then do a little greeting in the beginning. So it's like, okay, we're gonna start. Okay, this is good. It's gonna be a good day. It's really. I look forward to that moment too.
Right, and it's how we usually say, constantly say on the show. Miles's energy, Miles's spirit is really contagious. Seeing him smile or make eye contact, you can really sense the energy that's coming from him. Just because he is truly a difficult missions and the difficult path he has chosen to take down the CCP, to go against the evil Chinese communist regime for the Chinese people and for the freedom and love of the Chinese people. So you can begin to see what the mindsets and the mentality and also his physical state as well that you need to be in really be able to be on this path. And I would say, I think while you were away, I think you might have missed the portion where Miles kind of expressed to us, he was doing 500 push-ups.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I personally really enjoy going to the court, to the trial, seeing Mr. Miles live. Because in the past, for me at least, it was seeing him over the screen. I mean, maybe 2-3 times. When he's doing his lives, but now get to see him in person, Monday through Friday. I mean, we're coming closer to our end now, but still, seeing him in person, it's like you said, it's very contagious. When he's in high spirits, we get there, everybody's in high spirits. I mean, everybody's very respectful in the court, actually. One thing I've noticed that is in court, everybody's really quiet, very orderly, waiting for the judge to do her thing to get the court and the trial started. So, but yeah.
And I have heard, that now that you mentioned it, there are a large number of, members of the movement and supporters of the movement at the court today, right? Like probably today will be the record-breaking day of the amount of people that showed up.
Right, because I wasn't there when the lineup was there, so I came a bit later, so I wouldn't be able to see. But I don't know if you was there.
Yeah, I was there in the morning. So the court, the official court, actually opens its doors at 7:45 in the morning. I got there along with some of our other friends around like 7:15. There were already like 40-50 people outside lining up.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
I remember the earliest, one of the earliest, not even the earliest. Some people arrive at 7 a.m. outside the courtroom of the courthouse, the building.
Yeah.
And then after that you went in, you go through security, and then you line up outside of the courtroom. So there's like wait after wait after wait until a little bit before 9 they open the door so everyone can go in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's really cool is, not what really cool, but one thing I've noticed is, especially this week, is yesterday, today, like during lunch breaks or during the breaks between each session, like people wouldn't go get lunch. They would literally start lining up the second they get out the door. And I'm like, hey, are you gonna go get lunch? And they're like, no, we're gonna start lining up already. So you can tell we're definitely at that point where things are.
Especially from what I've heard about the testimonies made today, I can begin to see why people are so eager to go back in and find out more about the trial.
I have to say it's one of the most I wouldn't say one of the most, it is the amazing days so far. Hearing those testimony, hearing those things that come to daylight, that kind of thing, the way that everything's been brought up, it just feels amazing. And I just feel a lot of people are there, very lucky, and we're really grateful that we were able to see this happening.
And before we dive into the witnesses, I do know there are a number of things regarding to the schedule of the trial that have been mentioned prior to it, and also there has been I believe there has been something else in regards to the testimonies made yesterday that they had discussed prior to the trial. Can you just run us through about what was discussed prior to the trial before we dive into the trial itself?
Sure, I'll talk about regarding to the letter. You can talk about the schedule if you want. Okay, so the government sent a letter to Judge Torres about to strike a part of the Mr. Dragon's testimony yesterday. So Mr. Dragon was the person who I believe he does the business evaluation for GTV at a time in 2020, and regarding to GTV fundraising, there's the 200 million, there's 150 million, but 150 million is from Soraka. So that part of testimony that they want to strike, this is from government's letter. And defense response to this letter will be in by Friday this week.
The deadline is Friday.
The deadline is Friday, so they will be sending the response to the government letter, and they explained how they would respond to it a bit. So we're gonna see by Friday how was the response to this part of the letter. And there's 7 witnesses left before today started, according to the government. And you want to go on with the scheduling?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the scheduling, because we are getting near towards the end now, or to the 12th. So what happened is the new schedule is we're going to go through next week. In terms of how many days, we don't know yet. We're going to take it possibly one day at a time, but it will be a full day schedule starting on Monday. Just like today and yesterday, it will be a full day schedule all the way to 5 p.m. That's pretty much the new schedule. We're gonna run all the way up until next week. We'll see what happens in terms of how many witnesses we get through. Like today, we had 3 witnesses today, right? Yesterday we had 2. So yeah, it definitely go till Monday, Tuesday, possibly.
So there's 2 witnesses yesterday, and they said that there are 7 witnesses left. And today we also went through 3 witnesses, so we're actually left with just 4 witnesses, correct?
Possibly, yeah.
So I think that makes more sense as to the timeline of everything. But I do want to say the efficiency in getting the testimonies finished. Getting the direct and cross-examination done has been very quick to move through so many witnesses in one day. And I think the trial as of now is still ongoing, so potentially we might even see another witness being introduced before the end of the trial today, but let us see what happens. So I think thank you guys for giving us a update on the trials and the trial time, and also on the information that was discussed prior to the trial. Let us get to the most exciting part, because I do know the testimonies today is going to be mostly about the CCP.
Yes.
And I think Jackson, I would like you to introduce the witness and what his background is, and then Feder, you can kind of get into some of the questions that was asked by that was brought up in direct examination by Miles's legal team now.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it, guys. So the witness number 3, which is the first person that came to the stand today, his name is Jen Hu Yi, Y-I. He came on with his interpreter. He is a past
Right. Miles is interpreted. They do the simul interpretation. So
so it's simultaneous.
Yes.
Like everything that's been discussed in court, what the judge says, what everybody says, it's simultaneous. So the interpreter is not only interpreting like his response, but he's the interpreter is also, keeping him the witness updated as to everything that's going on.
Like live translation.
Yeah, live translation.
Yes.
So he's able to understand what is being talked about in court.
Yep.
Yes. So like it's like the same translator that's doing the same job for Mr. Miles to the witness, because this is the translators from the defense, right? So they're using remember like when
Yali.
when Yali were like the government's witness, and then the government hired interpreter to come in court and to do this interpretation. Now they have the simul interpreter that can do this interpretation live, like very efficient.
Yeah. It really goes to show you how much more thoughtful the defense team is, making sure everybody's up to speed with the language and the communication. And so with that being said, that's the gentleman. He was actually persecuted in China regarding his investment into the G series. And so that's his background. He lived in China from 2005 until 2022. Let me take a look. And it was on October 23rd, 2020 is when two CCP police officers went to his work and actually took him away. So that's the beginning of a little bit of how his story started in trial. He's working for a trading company in Shanghai at the time, and let me take a look. These gentlemen, he said in court that these gentlemen actually came in plain clothes, but they are people from the National Ministry of Security, the MSS.
Police officers, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, all from the MSS.
Oh, MSS.
Yeah, the Ministry of Security.
Oh, wow.
Right. So this is basically what happened. And, we started talking about his story, the beginning of his story. The two people came into his company and took him away when he was working that day. And then they were, as Jackson said, they were dressing in plain clothes, and he realizes from a national security, and he doesn't know what they do exactly, and he doesn't know. They showed a badge, but he doesn't know what the badge tells him.
Because it's not every day these people show up.
Right. He doesn't know what it means, and then he asked. They asked this witness to go with them, and they didn't know why they were coming from. And then he said, I could not refuse them because you gotta let the police in China do their work. And if he doesn't do it, there will be serious consequences from his understanding. So he's like,
essentially had no choice.
Right.
But to go with the two men that,
Yeah,
or he went to prison.
Else. No,
that was one of the consequences.
Yes.
If he didn't follow.
He didn't follow.
Okay.
He didn't go.
Yeah.
What he didn't do was the police said to do.
Yep.
And but the HR, this police went to HR first and then told him that they're gonna come in 2 days. So in these 2 days he's thinking about it, right? And he's worried, when they're gonna come to take me. And then he told, during this time he didn't tell anyone but his wife. Because he said it's a secret thing, it's not convenient to tell everyone.
It's a personal thing.
And then they question him things, and then specific topic it's about GTV and G series investments. And they took them not to the police station, to the hotel next to his company.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Okay. And then he was not handcuffed, but he was not allowed to leave either. So he stayed in a hotel room for approximately 11 hours.
They got him in the afternoon around 2 p.m. afternoon his time at the time. They took him to the hotel. They took him on that day, and then they took him to the hotel and they interrogated him essentially there for like 11 hours straight, all the way to the next day. And there's one camera in the room. When he got there's 3 men already waiting. So plus the 2 men that brought him, so there's 5 people, including him, 6 in the room. And then they just kind of everyone sat down in face of him and then just started questioning him things. And he was sitting there with a camera pointing at him. Okay, and they took his phone. They took his phone once they enter the room, right? And they go on his phone. They open the Gmail app. So he said that it's illegal to have a Gmail account
technically illegal Gmail account in China, right? And he opened his email, well, without his consent, of course. GTV, because his GTV account is the Gmail email address that he uses. So they ask about the connection. This email address and the GTV account, and then he said, they said, if you don't tell the truth, they will bring you to another place to make you tell the truth. Okay, this is what he said. This is the thing he heard, and then the police showed him a case file of 20 pages. Basically, case file like that filed against him, this witness. And they asked him to fingerprint every single page. And this because investing in GTV could end up in 3 to 5 years in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Investing in GTV in China can get you in prison for 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
Right. I mean, imagine you going to work one day, right? And then you got these two men knocking out the door, showing you a badge, saying, "Hey, we're MSS, and you got to come with us." Next thing you know, they take you to this hotel room, and then when you get there, there are 3 other men there waiting for you with a camera. It's like, what's going on, right? Is this a photo shoot? I don't know, probably not. But anyways, and then they drop this bomb on you. They say, "Hey, give us your phone," right? And they ask them, some of the basic questions, and they drop this whole, 20-page file on him, saying, "Hey, this is what's happening now," and then you got to fingerprint every single thing. And imagine. Right. The amount of, I can't, putting myself in his shoes, it's for sure very, just to paint a picture for everybody.
Right. On top of that, the policeman asked him tell him that they could easily put him in jail. They could easily jail you, and if you work with us, you can avoid the jail time. This is what the police said. And then,
I guess my next question really would be, what does he mean by working with them?
Okay, and then I'll tell you how this witness worked with them. Okay, and along that they tell you, you have no place to hide. Okay, we have all the information about your wife and your family and your address and and all that. Along with the pressure, you gotta do this, but what we're gonna do if you don't comply, right? And then he was released and he drove home. The next day, right?
Yep.
The next day they meet again. Okay, he brought his GTV certificate. Is it the private placement certificate? I believe.
Yeah, they asked him to bring the GTV certificates with him, and they also asked him to bring his laptop, his computer, with a VPN installed on there. Very interesting. We'll get to
with
it.
a VPN. Yeah. So they require him to have the VPN installed.
Right, they asked him.
That's
because
later?
That's a little bit later.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. I do want to point out once we get there.
Yeah, so where's the GTV certificate? Yeah. And he took it from him, okay? And then they tell the witness that you will lose all money because GTV is fake. They tell them that this is fake. You shouldn't do this. And then they tell him that you cannot tell anybody. You cannot contact anyone outside of China or in China that tell you or talk to you about anything related to this. And you have to tell the police first. If anybody contact you, you have to tell them first. You cannot, yourself contact anyone. Okay, and just around a week later, right, on November 30th, 2020. Yep. I think they meet again. I think they tell this witness that he's committing a crime. He's invaded national security by investing in GTV. And that MILESGUO stole all his money. He's been told that Miles stole his money. And then they want to file a lawsuit on his behalf against Miles.
Yeah, they asked him to research U.S. law, so they can get him to actually make a complaint, like an official complaint.
So they're trying to, I guess, motivate him to file this complaint, a campaign, or have a case against Miles overseas.
And on the complaint, on the lawsuit, he has to mention that he's using all the investors' money, doing all the luxurious lifestyle to afford his lifestyle. And then later on December, he's asked to withdraw, if I didn't get it correct. Withdraw all GTV, send a letter, and then withdraw all the money.
Yep.
Right?
And that letter was actually drafted for him, for him to sign, to give to the GTV committee to get all the refunds back. So he didn't write the actual, the letter.
Oh, so they forced him to write a letter to request a refund. From
So
GTV,
they gave him the letter for him to sign, for him to use that letter to submit to the GTV committee to ask for the refund.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he read a letter. I don't know if we're talking about the same one, but there's one letter that they tell every single word to write on the letter or on the complaint. And they ask him to get a lawyer, but he doesn't have money. And then they find him a lawyer. That's when you said about bringing the laptop with VPN to write a letter. They give the email address, and then by this day, Sunday, January 10th, by this day you have to send. If you don't send, I'm going to give you tough attitude. That's the word by the witness. And then in January, there's the defense exhibition, which is the letter. It's a complaint, right, filed against GTV. It's a complaint filed by the witness, forced by the National Security, the
MSS.
the Ministry of State Security, MSS. So they tell him every single word in that complaint, what to write, okay? And all the data are correct. When he was asked by Sabrina, the defense lawyer, are the information in the document, the complaint, correct? And he said the data are correct. So his personal information are correct. And the description of incident, are they correct or truthful? The description in the complaint describes that this investment is a fraud, okay? And it's a financial fraud. And then he said it's not accurate at all. And he also filed with FBI, right?
They submit to FBI.
Attorney General.
Attorney General.
And he sent the same complaint to New York Times to report this, and to Wall Street Journal, etc., etc. Okay, and then that's all he told by National Security to do so. Okay, because the National Security told him that this is the only way to protect yourself and your family. This is a constant theme that they go after yourself and your family. This lawyer in China, you want to talk about?
Yeah, so this lawyer that was offered to him, essentially the MSS told him that, number one, here's a lawyer for you. Number two, we'll take care of all the bills, okay? And this is what we're gonna do now, essentially, right? And what's interesting is, imagine this, if you really have, if this was a real, some kind of a case, and you hire a lawyer to do the work, why would you need your own laptop, download a VPN, and you do all of this and that when you have a lawyer to do so, right? So the logic is really not there, but we know, right? So here's the thing about the lawyer, okay? So the lawyer from the CCP, actually, they never met in person, and he actually was not allowed to contact the lawyer.
So how does he work with the lawyer if he is not allowed to contact or meet him face to face?
Very strange, right? Very strange. So the lawyer was essentially representing him. Personal opinion here, okay? Just personal opinion is that if you guys can take a look at, if you guys paint a picture, is that you never meet this lawyer. You're being told by these two men that's showing you a badge that they're from the MSS, that this is what you got to do now, and this and this and that, and you have no contact to this lawyer. The lawyer doesn't even contact you, and you're being told to do all this work. So it's very fishy for sure.
So from what it sounds like to me, he's being told, to do this or otherwise, something else is going to happen. They're going to, work on his family, stuff like that, and such. And it essentially seems like they want him to file a complaint in according to what they want to express, and he's the one that's got to carry it out. And also he was given a lawyer who he has no communication with, so I believe the lawyer is probably just going to take care of stuff on the back ends, right? But once he does prepares all the documents together, puts it all together for the lawyer to proceed.
And what's interesting, there's a signature for that document that he's submitting to the FBI, the Attorney General, Wall Street Journal, and everything else. So he's testifying in court, the witness testifying in court, saying that is my signature, but I did not sign this paper. So who got a copy of his signature? How did somebody get a copy of his signature and got it onto the document?
So they forged his signature onto a document.
Correct. They forced a signed document that is not signed by him. So it's a fake signed document.
Right. He might have signed something in the past, and who knows what happened. But he testified in court saying that, you know what, I did not personally sign it. It is my signature, but I did not sign this thing.
But later on, when he get to U.S., okay, this is all happened in China and Shanghai. Okay,
Yeah.
later on when he get to U.S., he sent a letter to the judge that was handling the case, that he wrote on behalf of him and his wife who made an investment together that don't want a refund. They want to keep the investment. And I want to tell you a little bit, when at the end of 2020, they left China to go to US. They went to Macau first. They transferred to Dubai and then to US. So it's a long journey with his family, his wife, and then they moved to Virginia, okay?
Yeah.
And when he US, he contacted this lawyer that the CCP, the MSS, hired for him to stop representing him. So he sent an email, he sent a letter to him saying, okay, stop representing me on my behalf to tell me about the investment I want to make. To fake,
Because he
to
wants
file
his
fake
money
complaint.
to stake, in the G series. He does not want the refund. So he's essentially like what Feather is saying.
Yeah.
Is reaching out to the original attorney
Yes.
that was offered to him via the MSS or the CCP, right? What's interesting, this lawyer's name is Arthur Angel, so we don't know his nationality, right? But that's one thing. So, but at least there's evidence. He did communicate himself.
And he voluntarily wanted to file the dismiss in the case because it's without a consent that this lawsuit is filed. And then so they were telling about how much he invested. He invested in GTV, Hcoin, G Club membership, etc. All of that he doesn't want to withdraw at all. Okay, and that's basically we covered all what happened in direct. So we move on to cross. So.
Actually, I have one point. So one point to add before we went to the cross was. Sabrina asked him, does he feel safe living in the USA? And then he said no, because of people like the CCP secret police, and who knows what other agents have entered the US undeclared, right? That is roaming around the streets of the US, as we know, with the current border crisis and everything else that's going on with the CCP police office that we found here, right, in New York. So it was very real.
Right, and I think this is the most important thing, that the most important arguments that is made through his testimony is the fact that first he made investments willingly, and to this day he still does not want to refund on his investments, and still the CCP government still decided to use him to file a report, right? Through him to file a report without his consent, to withdraw his investments, and also to complain against
claim that he's defrauded and everything.
Right, and that is and the way that he was instructed to file the report against GTV and Miles. It's not the first time we have heard that statement, right? This is very familiar to what we have heard in the past on the show. So I would just leave that there. But with that being said, I think what you just added on, the fact that he does not feel safe in America, I think that rings true, because think about, like you said, the police station that is found in New York, and also how the CCP has been infiltrating the American media. I mean, you can begin to see the web of influence they really have over Western society, and especially if you also think about the Belt and Road initiative of the CCP, like in the strategy to control more of the world. I think you can really truly begin to see that as long as the CCP exists, you're not truly safe anywhere. And looking at the tactics of the CCP, which I think we also will get into a little bit later. So this is why this trial today has been a treat for anybody that is interested to learn more about the CCP, because let's face it, like I wouldn't know stuff like this. What happened to if you invested in a certain company, right?
Yeah.
That's just absurd.
Yeah.
Where the CCP would really influence you to file a report against your own will. I mean, that's just crazy. And the fact that he was questioned for basically a whole day, because we're not awake for 24 hours. 11 hours is basically how much we're awake for. So he was just really questioned for an entire day, essentially.
For a full shift.
I mean, everybody in the courtroom definitely got the picture from my observation.
And he was instructed to break the law to do this as well by downloading by using a VPN.
The CCP is asking him to break their own laws, right?
Right.
Downloading a VPN and jumping through the hoops. So it's very interesting.
Right. So with cross-examination by Mr. Finkel from the government, he was trying to draw ties or connections between some of the protests that this witness went back to Mr. Miles Guo because of the hat he wore. Had at New Federal State of China NFSC on it, and there's the star, so the star right here, and so he was asked, is this Miles's NFSC? I don't know if you get that. He was asked, is this Miles's NFSC? He's like, no, it's New Federal State of China, and what about the star on your hat? And then he said, what about the star on your hat? It represents 7 points, means 7 brother, right?
Yeah.
And he said, you cannot interpret it like that. And then he also declared that this is their own protest. It has nothing to do with Miles, and this is the farm organized this protest.
Correct.
And then he didn't get anything out of it. And then they talk about the lawyer, the immigration lawyer, that's working with Miles Guo, but he does not know if he's still with Miles Guo as his attorney. And then because this witness met with this immigration lawyer, right, Yang, and when he met him, Miles was not there, so they met him independently. And then also this is where the government trying to draw this tie that the testimony that he prepared today has something to do. Has the immigration lawyer of NFSC have something to say in it or have been involved in this testimony, right? So they were showing pictures of them being on the show for this program, Miles Trial Chinese version program of Young In and saying, "Oh, did you watch the program on Twitter? Did you watch? Did you read the court documents?
Right. Did the lawyer send you all the transcripts?
Yeah.
But what's funny is, like, as everybody knows, our show's called Miles Trial, but the government, Mr. Finkel, he referred to the show as the NFSC Speaks Show. So I mean, come on, do your homework, right? Miles Trial. But anyways, so that's pretty much it. It was a very quick cross, actually. They didn't really dig in too much, and then went back into redirect.
Yeah, but the very, very important thing about the cross, that something that brought up by the Mr. Finkel at the end of the cross, it was asked, so you do GTV investments, right? So you do it after watching Miles Guo. No, he said this is not the main reason why he made investments. Not only because he talked about investment, that's the reason why he invests. He listens to his broadcast, that's true. He talks about GTV, that's true as well. And he talks about G Club and all that other investment. He talks about it for sure. And then he asked, do you want to help Mr. Miles Guo, right? He said, yes, but I want to help myself. And then he gave later on in the redirect, he gave a fuller picture of why he wants to help myself.
Like, why is he wanting to invest? And what I wrote down, he said his first goal is to overthrow the CCP. Okay, to overthrow the Chinese Communist Party. The second is to essentially clear his own name because he filed the fake or the false claim, right, to the FBI and everything.
Yes.
So,
against his own will.
Yeah. So those are two really big.
He said, I also want to help myself more. This is the reason why he invests, or he's against. He's here today.
I think that's a good question too. Is why does he want to help himself? Right?
Yeah.
And I think he probably elaborated on that.
Yes.
Afterwards.
That's why he said, what? Of course, Sabrina asked, how do you by doing this, by investing, how can you help yourself more, right? He said, first of all, Jackson said, my goal is to take down the CCP, and second of all, I filed a false complaint, so he wants to clear his name. So this is the two main reasons. But as a fellow fighter, you have a lot of reason to why you're in this movement, and then the reason behind your investment too, right? But then this is very clear. I think this is a really important part of his testimony today that shows how assertive he is, and he came all the way to U.S. and to cancel this lawsuit, and he kind of keep the investment in it, keep the money in the investment and all that. He came all the way here with his family, and it's not an easy journey for him, for sure.
I can imagine, especially the fact that I can imagine how traumatizing the experience must have been. Being taken to a hotel with 5 other people who have been questioning you with a camera and everything, and then threatening to do things to your family as well if you don't enact on what they say. So I think the fact that he came out to testify against us today in a U.S. court, that's very courageous of him to do so, and it fully expresses why he wants to help himself, how he could help himself, right? Like more, and what he wants to achieve through that, and it's really to clear his name, and because he was forced to do this against his will, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that too. And this is a way to stand up against the CCP too, because now all of this is on record. All of this is on record, and I think that's the most important thing to know about these testimonies from the witnesses is the fact that they are speaking out against the CCP on record, and that is extremely important. That's way more powerful than just doing like what we're doing on the media, right?
Yeah.
Right, because this is official record. I mean, anytime someone can turn back to look, this is what happened in this case, and this is the information that was revealed to be true, because they're under oath. Whatever they say, it is nothing but the truth, right?
Yeah, that's
just
for sure.
the beginning, for sure.
So that would be pretty much like all there is to this witness, right? Is there anything you want to add for this witness?
For the lawyer part, when the government wants to make the tight connection between that his testimony has something to do with NFSC, a lawyer that worked with NFSC before, but then it was very clear that he never met with the defense with this lawyer, when he never. He never was with him to prepare his testimony. He never met with him to do so, and he helped him to get a SIM card, to work in U.S. and all that. This is way before the case where
because he filed for asylum.
Yeah, so that's all clear. There's nothing to do with the lawyer, with the immigration lawyer, with NFSC at this part. So it was very straightforward, and there you go, the witness number 3.
I think that's a main theme with some of these witnesses that we're seeing is they're very straightforward with the message they want to convey. And I think this witness actually, even though it seems like a pretty big story, it happened pretty quick, right? Like through the direct and also cross-examination. I think it was finished probably around when they break for noon.
Before 11,
Just shy before 11.
Oh wow! So I mean, he was introduced today, correct?
Yep.
So that's very quick.
Like an hour and a half tops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. I mean, again, efficiency, and also you can see how the arguments are very clear cut.
Very straightforward, to the point.
And also the judge led a lot of question to be lead questions. So like I don't know how I should give an example, but like a lot of leading. So when normally you're not supposed to lead your answer to a certain question, but then the judge allowed leading because it's more efficient, and then you was course ruling and all that. So that's one reason why you saved a lot of time from asking unnecessary questions.
Yeah, because I think everybody in the courtroom, after the 35 witnesses from the government, I think everybody has a very solid foundation in terms of what some of the foundational knowledges, right? So once the defense witness, like Mr. Yi, the third witness, when he came on with his story, I think everybody got the picture, and we didn't need to drag it on, and so
yeah, and we do have just 20 minutes left of the show.
Oh wow!
Let us move to the
next witness.
Okay. And the witness after that, did we actually do a whole lot of questioning? Because I do know like there's another break in between as well in the afternoon.
Right.
You mean Duran?
No, the one after.
Oh, the one after.
Did they get into a lot of the direct examination, or not a whole lot yet?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
So why don't we do this? Let's talk about the next witness, and then we will continue for at least a little bit of time, just so we can introduce the next one.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So this next witness, it's let's say the CCP expert.
CCP expert.
Yeah, CCP expert with
Nice.
this. His name is Paul Doran, and I think he worked as a corporate risk advisor and manager in 25 years. He evaluating the risk for high net worth individuals and NGOs, corporates, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And he has advanced degree, he has so many certifications, and international risk company, worked in London and foreign intelligence in UK, national security with US, consultant business he has a consultant business of his own right now that's based in London, UK, to do assessments for people from different nations, mainly from China, Russia, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela.
Yep. And Iran.
And Iran, yes. So he does risk assessments for those people. And
very interesting choice of countries as
Oh,
well.
Yeah. And then he was asked, what's the common theme? In these countries, it's run by one party, authoritarian dictatorship, no democracy country. Yes.
Yep.
So because he said these countries are very sensitive to receive challenges from their own people and from foreign critiques from foreign people. So a lot of his clients, are disputes.
Yeah, like dissidents. Essentially of from these countries.
They're victimized, targeted people by those countries' authorities, and because also the countries that we listed, they don't tolerate dissidents, right?
Yep.
They have little tolerance or no tolerance, and and among those leaders of those countries, Xi Jinping is the worst. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He not only go after the people in their own country in China, but also overseas.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to that. So he worked as in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China, right? And throughout this time, when the work period in China, his phone got hacked or got taken away, right? They looked through his emails.
By the government?
Yeah,
by
CCP.
By the CCP.
Yes.
So he testified in court saying that he was fully aware that his phone's tapped, emails, all his communications, everything was being essentially hawked. Surveillance, while he was out there.
His
working.
apartment is being, I don't know, he didn't say broke
he
into.
said, yep. His place has gone broken into and everything else. So it just really goes to show you, this is a serious matter.
Right. And then there are people coming and ask him, do you want to be a spy for us?
Yeah, the MSS actually tried recruiting him to become a spy to work for the MSS, to work for the CCP. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
So we're talking about someone who is extremely, extremely familiar with the tactics of the CCP, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tactics, that's for sure.
I think that is the key here, really, is their
Yes.
methods, right? I think, judging from all of this, he is extremely familiar with the way they think and why they operate on certain
And a lot of
aspects.
his clients are on Operation Foxhound list.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was brought up more than a couple times today.
Yeah,
Operation
and
Foxhound.
he explains that what does the Republic of China means, and then the history of
PLA,
China,
yeah.
The history of PLA, the Liberation Army, the history, CCP. What it do is to dominate all social, economic, cultural sectors, within the China.
So this is great for the jury. I mean, I would imagine at this time right now, the CCP is still very new to a lot of people out there. There's, because of the censorship, it's quite difficult to be able to get the truth on the CCP through the social media, and especially if you think about anything like the education system or any books you might be able to find. There's not a whole lot of options out there. So I think with testimonies like this in court made available by Miles's team, this is very good, and it really does bring the full picture that the jury desperately needs to understand this whole case, just because of the fact that the CCP is an underlying element to this case.
That's right.
I think we'll have to bring up, pull up the official court documents that he talk about what CCP is, what the Operation Foxhound is.
Yeah.
And
Now,
then,
what are some of the arguments that he brought up that the defense's team is trying to build through this witness?
So, I mean, I'll break it down roughly, like an overview, is that in the beginning we came on, talked about his background a little bit,
Right.
Established that, and then after that we went into a little bit of definition, right, vocabulary in terms of what is CCP, PLA, the MSS, the NPS, for example, and some of the organization, how the structure actually even works, right? Like Xi Jinping's on top, and then it's the MSS, and then from there, how all other elements are involved.
Yeah, he was showing pictures of those ministers' picture, like the minister of the public security, Wang Xiaohong. He was showing the picture. He pulled up Xi Jinping's photo to the jury, to the court. Say, who is this? It's Xi Jinping, right?
And sorry to cut you off. I did just receive notice that we have a new tweet. Some more information that was brought to us by our team.
Okay.
So whenever our tech team is ready, they're gonna display it out there, and I'll read it quickly for you guys. So it says that Sabrina from Miles's legal team is continuing to direct examine Miles's fifth witness after 30 minutes, a 30-minute court break. The witness testified he had 155,000 investment of GTV, and he was confident on the investment because GTV was already operating at the time. Even though it might be attacked by the CCP, the witness also confirmed that he knew very well that there would be risk on any investments.
Yeah, this is
we touched upon this.
The sixth.
The sixth. The one after this one, but this is right. That's what he said in the court about
And I think that it's great for these testimonies made by the witnesses, because I think there was a argument on the prosecution side where they said that there's no risk. Miles said there's no risk at all. Such and such. And on this side, we're seeing some of the witnesses on the defensive side who are testifying to the exact opposite, where they knew that there would be risk, and the fact that GTV was in fact providing services. It was operating because it's a video platform, right? Its products are videos and allowing other people to broadcast. So I think a testimony like that is actually giving the other side of the picture rather than a clipping of just a certain aspect of what GTV is and its operations.
Yes, and this witness specifically, he also did a lot of research on his own. He used a lot of strategies to look at this business, at this company, if it's a good decision to invest. He doesn't just listen purely based on what Miles said in the broadcast, like what other investors said with the governments. But back to the witness number 5 with the CCP expert. So he was showing a list of people, like Minister of Public Security, put a picture out there. Minister of the State Security, Chen Yixing, picture out there. Xi Jinping's picture has been put on in the court today. And he was explaining what the 3PLA is, the things they do, like a cyber warfare, cyber espionage, cyber subversion. And then, he was explaining the tactics of CCP, what they do, to control, eliminate the threats in China and overseas. And then she was showing who operates this. And then they all listen to the order of Xi Jinping, right? And the main, it also was asked, we're going to get to the main argument here. All this is to build upon, to build for that main arguments. And he was asked how CCP identified the targets. There are thousands of targets of the, there's people who cross the red line, CCP red line, which has zero tolerance. Freedom of speech, a representative of democracy, freedom of religion, freedom of nationality. So there's different nationality within China. And there's
different ethnic groups
like Inner Mongolia, Uyghurs, and all that. So these are the people, who also are very active on social media, academics, mainstreams. They have a record of them advocate freedom, corruptions in China. Those are the people. That's how CCP targets those people.
Whistleblowers.
Okay, so I assume we're gonna be on the list very soon, or already is. They talk about Hong Kong and PRC. How the system is and how Chinese take over Hong Kong's political system over time. After 1997.
Oh wow! So this is actually very in depth about
very
in depth.
I mean, Sabrina asked him during the direct to I was asking him about the election in China, in CCP China, right? And he testified. The witness testified saying that it's a sham election. It's a sham election because they're CCP candidates only. Right? It's not like some random, or not a random, but just the average Joe can say, you know what, I'm gonna go run for office, right? So he testified in court saying that it's a sham election overseas, in China. It's all controlled by the CCP essentially. And he identified saying that Xi is not only the quote-unquote president dictator of China, but he's the general secretary of, because he's consolidated a lot of power.
Right.
Unlike some of the past presidents.
Especially in recent years as well.
Oh yeah. So they really painted a very solid picture of Xi's position amongst the whole hierarchy of the Chinese government, along with who's the head of MSS, the NPS, the PLA, and everything else. So I think that painted a really good picture for everybody in the courtroom. You know, for the people that weren't very familiar, they're hearing the word CCP, but now I think today, through this witness, at least for myself, for anybody that don't know anything or too much about how the Chinese government is structured, today we got a good picture of the hierarchy.
Right. And there's so many other details, things, you know, about bank account being frozen, and also for the distance overseas. That's on the list.
That's a good one.
Yes,
that's a beautiful one.
So the seized assets of distance overseas, the bank account frozen, their difficulty to open bank accounts, to maintain a bank account. Okay, they tell the bank. So the CCP tell the bank that the people have high risk. Like, for example, Mr. MILESGUO, right, has high risk. So it's easy for the bank to dismiss this bank account, to close the bank account, then investigate further into why and what's the context of it, and why they're high risk. It's easier for them to shut it down, right?
Right.
This is what happened with MILESGUO.
Like, for example, somebody can just, if they issue a red notice on somebody, or if they have a hit piece on, you know, all the Chinese platforms like articles and whatnot, it doesn't matter if it's true or if it's a lie. It matters that if there's too much noise, that's the pressure that they can now exert on these international, global banks, you know, to essentially freeze, close, or.
And it's been proven with Morgan Stanley, with the people working in the bank, and you know, from the government side, they already came and said, "Oh, we read stuff, and then this is why we one of the reasons why we closed the bank accounts."
Right,
you know?
and just to recap what Feder was saying, there was a witness on the prosecution side who have testified that, you know, some of the stuff they were reading in the media actually influenced her decision to advise against closing some of the accounts relating to the G series, and also I believe there was another one working at BitGo to stop working for the Humiliating Exchange because of some of the information that he uncovered on social media, which is, you know, again, really similar to some of the information that we're learning about today in court.
Yeah, and whoever received red notice, right? It's a very common tactic of CCP, who do surveillance and hacking, and then intercept and, you know, harass and then disturb those people who want to pursue the democracy and freedom of speech and freedom of human rights, right? And then they not only hack your phone, or they also have physical intimidation, beating, right? Access to emails, and also with the bank account closed. And there's kidnap too. There's with Fox Hunt, and a lawsuit against you, right? So their victims are accused for crimes, the false accusation. You know, if the subjects in U.S., the CCP would try to abuse the system that U.S. has, and then that this is how they do, and then this is what leads to the main arguments, okay? And it was asked, oh, so have you heard of Miles, right? Have you heard of MILESGUO? And then he never seen him today. He never seen him before today, but he's heard of him. And then he said, from my professional knowledge, MILESGUO is the public enemy #1. He would be on top of the list of the Operation Fox Hunt of the CCP. Okay, and because he exposed corruptions, it's embarrassing for Xi Jinping. It's intolerable, right? He promotes freedom, and then on social medias, and he talks about it. And then there's even music video talking about, you know, free the Mongolians and all that. So he's representing all the things that Xi Jinping doesn't like, hates, and then wants to get rid of it, right? This makes him the top enemy. So. And it was asked, oh, for your clients to seek to reduce the risk for them, okay, and families, in terms of like the hostile situation and result of being on the Operation Fox Hunt list, what do you suggest them to do? Okay, he would advise them to hold multiple cell phones, okay, like MILESGUO, because to prevent one cell phone getting hacked, and you have other ones, right?
Right, and I think that speaks to some of the evidences they have collected where they saw multiple cell phones, and we see the reason given, right? Because of the CCP surveillance.
Yes, and then have a lot of multiple online profiles, identities, right? Different names, different email address. Financial bank account have multiple financial bank accounts, like those bank accounts we've been shown to the court by the government, saying those are transfers from 3 different bank accounts, account to accounts, and harden your physical location. So, like if you're a target to kidnap you, that you better to have CCTV, access control, bodyguards, all of that just to help you, because this is the way to reduce the risk of getting prosecuted or getting harassed or getting kidnapped. So this is all, and then he thinks all the things that MILESGUO did so far for himself, it's all good security measure for him. By explaining the tactics of the Chinese Communist Party, the things they do to the people in China and people overseas that get prosecuted.
So I think from my understanding of what you just explained so far, my understanding is that this witness, through the explanation of what the CCP is and their way of thinking into the way and the thinking behind some of their tactics, he began to show us some of the countermeasures against those tactics. And we can begin to saw similarities between the countermeasures and also what some of the evidence is that was being shown. And it begins to make sense as to why, why some of the G series operated in certain ways. Just because of the fact that Miles is the #1 enemy of the Chinese Communist Party, and we have to take measures to protect the investors' investments. Otherwise, it's the same thing, right? Think about the thing they were referring to about the CCP's banking system is the fact that the CCP can easily take people's assets. So I think knowing that logic and knowing CCP's influence, these are measures that needs to be put in place just in case the CCP uses their influences to put their hands on the investors' money. And I think that part about the banking system is also another way to indicate why so many investors also wanted to invest and believe in GTV. It's the fact that, well, number one, GTV is created to speak out against it, to allow individuals to speak out against the Chinese Communist Party and to review more about the evils of the Chinese Communist Party. And two, it allows people within overseas to be able to move their money outside of the control of the Chinese Communist Party. So this is a way to ensure that they are retaliating against the CCP in a way just by investing in this.
Speaking of retaliation, a great question I've asked of the witness was, does the CCP target people outside of China? And the answer was yes. And sorry, give me 1 second. So yes, he says yes. The undeclared MSS agents would travel abroad to threaten the dissidents. It doesn't matter if you're Asian, it could be any ethnicity. They'll threaten you to, if you are like Chinese, for example, they will threaten you to, fly back to China and all kinds of different things.
Apply pressures, all kinds of pressures.
Right, and they're undeclared. They're not gonna go through the airport and say, hey, I'm an MSS agent. So there's a lot of that going on. And then another question is, what is U.S. doing about Operation Fox Hunt? Very interesting, okay? And here's the answer. The answer is transnational repression program. So the U.S. has a program called Transnational Repression Program, where it was created to protect, U.S. citizens or any dissidents that do speak out and go up against the Operation Fox Hunt. So it's super interesting. Learn something new today.
Protect them from the CCP activities. But when we was asked, I don't know if we have more time, but we talked about.
We can wrap up on this final thought.
Right. We talked about also, the people who lobbying Trump administration back in time to extradite Miles back to China. This is the people that were paid by the CCP, and then they're bribed to lobby the administration, and those people they keep the government trying to keep asking, but the U.S. did stop them from making this move, from sending him back, right? But then he said he's so close to getting on the plane. He's so close to getting on the plane, but then other than from the mainstream media and the court documents, there's nothing else that they said they did to to those people, the lobbyists.
Yeah.
It was very limited.
Right, and on that final note, I think this actually shows perfectly to our viewers why we are covering this trial, because in the beginning it was just a lot of information about finances, but now we are seeing the true reasons why we cover this, because you know, it has provided so much more insight on the methods of the Chinese Communist Party, and not only that, just how to protect yourself against the Chinese Communist Party. If you guys are familiar with their methods, right? Just like the reason why we bought this witness out there, and also why we look at Miles' story so much. In reference is because they have actually, the CCP has spent too much effort on just one person, on just targeting one person, because of the fact that he has stand out and speak out against the Chinese Communist Party. And with that being said, the trial will actually go on break tomorrow because it is July 4th and also the following day. So as of this week, there will be no more trial days, and the trial will continue on the following week on Monday. And as we have heard earlier, the trial is potentially going to finish on either Tuesday or Wednesday. So with that being said, we will see you guys next week. And also, just to let you guys know, on Friday we're not sure if we will be having NFSE Speaks or another rerun of a previous episode of Miles' trial, because we will not be hosting shows for the next 2 days. So in any case, thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. I hope we have explained everything to the best of our abilities, and we thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next time on the show. God bless.